And we're live.
Everybody sing along. For everyone who's not in my room, at the end of that little call and response thing, Ed Kratz just did like a real like whoa, and then motion to the side of the screen, and then pulled out the guy from Counting Crows to sing that fucking hot beat with him at the end. So
instead of throwing it off to Luda, he threw it off to Durowitz.
Well, the two of them are just they're Red Hot Chili Peppers bouncing and singing the chorus to that abortion song or that miscarriage song, and it's the two Titans, the Live and the Counting Crows guy. So,
oh man, I didn't think they were able to be like in the same room or in the same plane together, because like what if something like what if a bomb went off?
They both know the formula to Coke. It's that they're the same guys. Yeah.
Oh man, how's it going?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm a busy week, but I'm okay.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. We were talking in the green room about finishing up New Vegas. Man, I just can't rest if I have that big of an assignment on my plate.
It is. Yeah, I had a real realization that I really kind of busted my ass, but I didn't need to, and I'm still like pretty ahead.
Yeah.
So we're not going to record all 9 hours of New Vegas stuff in one day or anything.
Oh God, no.
So I got some time. But yeah, it is a lot of content for us to be doing. This is as long. This is like Final Fantasy VII or something like that. As far as hours.
Like I've put 70 hours into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more.
Yep. So. Which like the only other game I've done that much for was Morrowind.
Yeah. Morrowind was a real time suck. Yeah. I think that with this one, us not splitting the because I didn't put that much in. Like Fallout 3, I think I put like 40 hours into. Yeah. Because we split everything up, and the decision not to do that is still good. And there's a lot of stuff that you will have to. I kind of fucked up and locked myself out of NCR stuff slightly sooner than I would have liked. Okay. So I did a good amount of NCR stuff, but not all of it. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't matter because I've done all of it like multiple times before this. Mm-hmm. So, but for this playthrough, there's several NCR quests that I couldn't do.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have to like wiki dive on any of the like the Powder Ganger stuff or
Legion.
You just can't like do any of that and also like live in society.
Yeah. Which is good, but the best vaults in the series, best set of vaults.
Oh yeah, love the plant one.
Oh well, and then Vault 11, which I think is one of the best like levels and games. I forgot to add that. I think that is stronger than the Ultralux. Like I think that's the coolest thing in this game.
Oh yeah, you were talking about you're talking about Vivian's.
Yeah, or just or any best levels of all times. But I ended up putting but the Vault 11 is so. And then one of the things I think people don't like about New Vegas, when people who like Fallout 3 more, is that New Vegas is less concerned with mechanically rewarding the player for things.
Right.
So there's no bobblehead at the end of Vault 11. Like there's nothing. You just get this like really, really great sci-fi story, and then the end, that's it. And it's just this very classic, like Twilight Zone, like we live through it, but we can't live with what we've done, to live through it. And it's just so good. And it's just your reward is you just get the story, or just like the H&H Tools Factory thing where you just get the backdrop and the story of this guy, but there's nothing you get, just go through a building, learn a story. And then that's the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm down with that. Like that is part of what I play these games for.
Yeah, it's great. Like I like games that just, because there's like Gone Home DNA in Vault 11. Mm-hmm. Like there's like no combat encounters really. Like you fight rats and mantises. Like it's nothing up until the end, and there's a combat encounter. But it's like your reward is how much do you explore this story.
Yep.
So Vault 11 cast. No, I keep saying Vault 11. Is it Vault 11?
34 maybe?
No, let me see. Oh, you know what it is? I think it is Vault 11, but I'm getting confused because that sounds a little bit like Vault 101,
Yeah.
like the famous Vault. Um, yeah, Vault 11 is the one with the blocks,
Mm.
voting blocks.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. They definitely concentrate it a lot more,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So cool. Do you want me to get into some questions here?
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody gets kisses from Freddie Merchantry for this one.
What's Freddie?
It's the merchant from Crypt of the Necrodancer,
Okay.
and he sings, but without the musical accompaniment. It's random. That's this is literally the worst song for him to start on. Let me. But yeah, he just sings the vocal parts when you squeeze his belly.
That's pretty good. Where do you get something like that?
The internet.
Yeah. Okay.
I just yeah, he was not too bad or anything. He's real cute though. Like he's a real cute dude. He's real fat. Yeah. I like this little guy. And his name is Freddie Merchantry. Like that's great. Good job, Necrodancer guys.
I feel bad that I didn't recognize him.
Oh, I mean, he's usually like this tall, so
Yeah. Pretty cool. So our first one here is from Brayton Cameron.
oh hey.
Whoever that is.
Yeah.
He said, Gary and Cole, now that the Duckfeed wiki is live, how do you feel about the handsomeness rankings? Also, how do you feel about the word handsomeness?
That's handsomeness ratings. I feel are probably pretty accurate.
Yep.
Because it's everyone just kind of tied. It's like everyone tied for third except for Nick, who's in second, and Roars, who's in first. I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not actually like a list. I think that if it was a straight up list, there would be some like churn on it as people went in, maybe. But
I
it's
mean,
just like
people grew more handsome and less handsome.
yeah.
The turn just happened as we gained face diseases. Like,
As we ghoulify.
yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, just like it is literally just if you go to a host, it is like a logic puzzle. It's like an SAT thing. Like,
Oh, sure.
not as handsome as so and so, but handsomer than so and so.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I feel fine about it.
Yeah, me too. I agree. I think Nick is a handsome man,
Nick's
and
a
Roars is a
handsome little
handsome
puppet.
man.
Yeah, he's very handsome.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy. The guy's real cute.
He's like Barney from Barney Miller. No, what's that? The story of the meeting of your mother. He's always suited up. I saw.
Oh yeah, Mr. Doogie.
Yeah, yeah.
The Dooge.
Yeah, Doge. Doge.
Yeah, Doji Hauser.
Yeah.
Doji Howler.
Very young.
He's a dogter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Roy's is like that. He's also he developed this kind of thing where like cats drool when they're purring.
Yes.
Sometimes he used to do that a little bit, but now he does it more as he gets older.
Okay.
And like I'm really like I've had it straight up 28 days later me. And it's like he's so cute. He's like hovering over me and then just like, and like hit my lip or something. And I'm just like, you're so cute and you're doing this because you're happy, but
still, this is a bodily fluid.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, it's a bodily fluid near my infection zones.
Exactly, near my mucous membrane.
Yeah. One thing I like, it's my understanding that as cats get older, they get kind of worse about keeping their tongue in.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think if you do a search on like Tumblr or something for BLEP, BLEP, you're gonna find a bunch of cats that have their tongues just kind of
a
little bit out.
Yeah,
pretty cute.
Every once in a while, that'll happen, and it's very cute.
Yeah, I'm very flattered by the wiki. Like that has gone very well since we put it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, really want to thank everybody who did that.
Yeah. Great job, everybody.
Yeah. Let us see. Some of these questions are kind of long, so I'm going to do my best to convey them quickly here. Carl Matson writes, some games seem to require you to play them in immersion breaking and, for lack of a better term, cheesy ways in order to progress. talking about, say, grinding Final Fantasy Tactics by fighting a lone goblin, or even like Dark Souls, getting the Drake sword, stuff like that. I'd be interested to hear your comments on these decisions from a game standpoint. Do you ever struggle to take the profitable or quick path? What do you think of the Soul series quirk of relying on near impossible inductive leaps in its quest lines, which inevitably lead to guide dependence? So,
That's not a Souls property. That's a Dark Souls 3 property.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Like, well, I don't know. I think that
going
you
back
could
to Blighttown to get Sigmire.
Sigmire is the most complicated Dark Souls 1 quest. Most of the quests in Dark Souls 1 are not that complicated.
Yeah, Solaire,
Um,
way Solaire's ends.
Solaire's bad ending is not complicated. Like, you're likely just to get there by exploring. Like, you get the most complete Solaire story automatically. Like, he's by bonfires, he's by places you're going to go,
Yeah.
and stuff anyway. The only part you're not going to go to is that place with the lights, and you're going to do that if you explore the level. It doesn't require backtracking to a level you have no reason to go back to.
Yeah.
And the stuff in 3 that requires that stuff it's like stuff you have no reason to go back to, but you're also looking for like summon signs and stuff. So it is more complicated, I think. And then the whole, I mean, we don't want to get the Dark Souls 3 spoilers on here. We'll talk about it, but I think 3 is significantly more complicated than earlier ones. The earlier ones are complicated by NPC questline standards because they don't tell you what to do, but they're not. 3 is the Byzantine guide one, I think, in that series. So it's kind of 2 questions, right? Like, it's one, how do we feel about like the questline stuff where it's like there are things in a game where you are kind of forced to reference outside material to advance.
And how do you feel about games that kind of tacitly require kind of degenerate strategies that kind of like run against you,
like role playing, or what your character would do?
Yeah, or even just kind of like what would feel most like satisfying to do at that moment, like grinding or something like that.
I hate grinding and farming in games. I don't do that if I can avoid it. It's like the one like black mark on Final Fantasy IV for me is that, like, since they gated spell progression behind levels, there's that place where if you're just playing naturally, you don't have wall when you need wall.
Yeah, in the underworld right before the cave.
Like that's like literally every time I played that. That's like some of the first like actual like game criticism or like reasonable critique I ever made as a kid. Without just knowing why this was bad. I was like, oh, every time I played this game, because I played it over and over because I loved it, this part is a huge fucking drag. So the I don't like doing that. I don't mind another example, and I don't know if the person who asked had this in mind, but you have to do a lot of like weird cover shooting in Hotline Miami 2. Like, I really loved Hotline Miami 2, but there are parts to get through it I had to do like this ducking in and out of doorway thing that is kind of contrary to the way the game has to be played. I just kind of saw it. It didn't bother me though. I saw it as like a puzzle thing. Like, this is a puzzle. I have a certain number of tools in my box. Like, this is a way to get past this. I know I could like get good and get through it. But same thing, or like shooting the undead dragon in Dark Souls 1 with arrows. When I first saw him, I was fine doing that. All the dragons in Dark Souls 3 I killed, or all the giants I killed with arrows from afar, because they put them in places to fight them that would be bad to fight them. So I guess that doesn't actually bother me that much. It doesn't bother me that my character wouldn't do that, because if it's about self-preservation, maybe my character would. They wouldn't do the other thing.
Yeah. I don't know, I have a complicated relationship with this because, like, it's really hard for me to acknowledge that I'm doing something in a less than optimal way, or to like just think about it like it will kind of stick in my craw. They're just kind of like, man, there is something boring and terrible I could do that would make this much easier as it goes along. Just thinking about it like this, like there are times when that can actually like work the other way, where you are kind of like role playing, and that ends up being the more difficult thing, but like you're working towards something else. So like, say in New Vegas this run around, I decided to do like a gunslinger kind of person, and like a lot of the feats that give you better criticals for that are kind of like hidden behind just like certain stat requirements and level requirements and things like that. And like, once you get there, it's real killer. But if you're holding on to that, like, okay, I'm just going to be going back and forth between a 44 and a 357, then that ends up being a little bit tough. But like that's a choice that you make, but like I know that it's working towards something.
You lost me in the middle of that. Are you saying that you because you'd be working towards those stats anyway
Yeah.
to get the feats? I'm sorry.
I
Um,
think that I think that I lost my point there, honestly.
is it that like you have to look up like I know is it like that you're gaming it like I know that I want this better criticals thing, so I'm going to look online and see what I need to work for towards
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
that.
or like even looking in the like the perks
Okay.
kind of list and saying like, well, I otherwise wouldn't do that, but I know that like I need to make these kind of counterintuitive decisions to make the kind of character that I want.
Yeah.
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 So.
That stuff. Yeah, I can see why that's kind of annoying, and I think the best games can reward that kind of thing, but you don't have to do the optimal way to do it.
Hmm.
So like again, Dark Souls example, but also true of New Vegas is like you can beat those games with anything.
Yeah.
Get to the end. You may not be as hardy in combat, but they offer other options. So like, you can not get those feats and you'll still be through it. You'll just use more stim packs. It'll be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
It's also something where I was talking about the Hotline Miami cheesing it strategy and everything. Like this all goes for grinding. Like I will use every tool other than grinding.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to make myself just so powerful that I steamroll something. I think it's part of the reason why like of the two twin pillars of classic JRPG-ness, like I'm a Final Fantasy guy more than a Dragon Quest guy. Because
Yeah.
you read about Dragon Quest and stuff, and they talk about how like this idea, like Bob Mackey's the first person I heard it from, but it's a quote from the developer about like something about it being like climbing a mountain, like but anyone can do it because you just keep working at it long enough, you just get to it, and that's grinding. You just get so powerful that nothing is a challenge. I will never like I never truck with having my patience tested
Hmm.
like that, So in like something like New Vegas, like I will use every toolbox that's there, even if it makes me like a chem-addled maniac, in order to like I really like kind of do sequence breaking those games and doing things before you're supposed to be able to do it, which is actually harder. Like it's not cheesing it. It's like okay, if I literally blanket the silver rush with mines and pop every drug I have and then hang out in this corner with Boone and snipe, I can kill all these fucking assholes like as soon as I meet them.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Like I'm more likely to do. So I'll go against the grain like that, but usually in ways that make the game harder. Unless going against the grain is grinding, which I won't do.
Right.
So
Yeah. And then, sorry, I've just got New Vegas on the mind. You've got just like games that either make a grinding kind of useless, like Dark
mhm.
Souls, you don't really get that far into it, or, like I think the New Vegas does a really good job of scaling stuff up to make
Oh
it,
yeah, yeah. I mean, New
difficult.
Vegas is an example that can be used for lots of things. It's a great game.
Yeah.
Like it's great. Like it's not great in like it's like capital G great. Like it does a lot of things. Playing it again, like it does so much right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of them.
Speaking of greatness, we have Josh Grimmer who writes in saying, "What's your least favorite great game?" Or what are your least favorite great games? I think Bloodborne is mine. I love everything about it except the act of playing the game. It's just too damn hard, and there are just too many poor systemic decisions, as discussed on Bonfireside Chat. Others include Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, some problems with literally every playable character. Ocarina of Time, because 3D Zelda doesn't work, and any non-Super Metroid game from the Metroid series. And then to counteract that negativity, he gives us a link to the theme song from Golgo 13, which I've
Oh,
not heard, and I do not know how to play over this. So we will go back to that later.
thanks. What do you think, Cole?
Least favorite great game? That's tough.
It's tricky to find a way where it's something you recognize that it's great, right? Because it's not you're not just asking what's overrated.
Yeah.
Because with overrated, there's kind of this idea that like, well, you can still think something's great and then also overrated, but it's not like everybody's wrong about it. It's just like you're just not seeing it, you
Yeah.
know, or it
It
doesn't
just
work for you.
it's tough too because like I don't want to be like I'm out here barbecuing your sacred cows.
Yeah.
How look at how edgy I am, but it's like you look at something like like Ocarina of Time is a really good example. Not to be lazy here and just say what's in front of me. That's a game that I had a lot of fun with. At its time, but it's just so hard. It's just so hard for me to like think about playing that again when I know that like Majora's Mask is better. But that's like a weird other situation where like I only recognize the flaws with like greater perspective.
Mhm.
And just because something else is better doesn't mean something that is great is, something that you just dislike. or something that is is unworthy of admiration.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ocarina would have been my answer too.
Yeah.
Like the idea of playing that right now sounds awful. Like if someone were like, sit down and play Ocarina of Time all the way through, that doesn't sound good to me. It's funny. I don't know if it's the same person. I just got like an Ask FM question about
Yeah.
like
So.
if we'd ever do Ocarina of Time. It's like, well, maybe. Ever's a long time. But it doesn't. It's not very interesting or good.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it's that's a good example of this question though, because the way in which you could call that game great is because of historical importance and kind of impact. Uh, it doesn't necessarily have to do with how it plays or like the rash of like kind of annoying design decisions in that game. So it is a great game. Like it is, it ends up on these top, I mean, it's second to Undertale. It's got to be great. And so it is a great game, but it's like one I don't like very much.
Yeah.
That's like people will bring up. I hear the Mario 64. I don't have that much fun playing, and I recognize that it's great and everything, but everything that it does, I like Mario Galaxy games like significantly better. And I don't have that much fun in like, and it's like the first third of Mario 64, I'm totally on board and way into it. And then once you get to like the desert land and stuff, and it becomes about tricky platforming with that kind of thing, it loses me completely.
Yeah.
I recognize that it's great. It's really good. It's amazing what they did, and they set the standard for what like 3D action would look like. But like, I don't like it very much. I don't have that much fun playing it.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, I'm looking at a big list of like on Wikipedia, like games considered to be the greatest, and like I'm very little is like sticking out. Like they're you get into stuff like weird JRPGs in the 32-bit era, and it's like I don't really like Xenogears that much.
Oh, Xenogears is awful. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't like Xenogears. It's atrocious.
Well, but
That
I
is
mean, that's on a list, and people still
yeah.
really hold it up in like in like high regard, and I wouldn't take that away from anybody. But it's
No.
like, yeah, just like that's a game where I just kind of don't get it, or like
Yeah.
I
If that's
get it, I
considered
can see
great.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
But then you're just kind of like, oh, what's considered greatest? But like I'm looking at stuff like, oh, Metal Gear Solid, Super Mario World, like all that stuff. It's like it's hard for me to. I'm not really a negative person, but it's hard for me to like nitpick those and say like, I just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, to people in the Slack, I do not mean to offend you by saying I think Xenogears is really bad. It is one of the most boring JRPGs I've ever completed. I was bored for a greater percentage of time in that game than I have in many games. It does a really bad job of like the ratio of like player control to like cutscene non-interactive parts is bad. And that's something I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a movie necessarily for these things. I don't like the Xenosaga games either. I didn't play all of them. I played the first one though because it looked pretty on PS2, but like I don't like that game either. And same kind of reason. Like they wrest control away from me too much. I'm just not doing enough for large swaths of it.
Yep. So yeah, we agree with you. We agree with you, Josh. Like Ocarina of Time, probably, but like I guess I wouldn't kick it out of bed or anything.
It's not torture. Like if you put a gun to my head, I would play it. It doesn't sound good though. Like there's just so many more interesting things to play.
Yeah.
And I played it like contemporaneously. Like I played it when it came out. It's not a lack of nostalgia. I was a little bit older when it came out, so I think that the people who say it is like the greatest game of all time are a little bit younger than me. Is what's happening. But I play. It's not like I don't have any nostalgia for it because I did play it and enjoy it at the time. It just when I've attempted to come back, I get kind of bored by some of it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like it came out when I was 11, and that's a pretty good age for liking a Zelda game, specifically like a 3D Zelda game on the amazing system that is the N64.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 second here. Turn
Everything
on my
all
display. Yeah. Fuck. Okay.
You just get to publicly watch your technology fail, Cole.
Yep. God damn it.
This is like Gremlins 2. Like you're in the build the clamp towers and none of your precious tech will save you now. Hey, Cole.
Yeah.
Guess what doesn't need batteries?
What's that?
A book.
Wait a minute, there's a Worlds of Power for bases loaded?
Yeah, I was trying to find the funniest example of a book to like do the old man on the plane. Like, guess what? I don't have to turn off.
Oh, that
And
fucking
I think
commercial.
the World of Power Bases Loaded 2 second season book at a scant 60 pages.
Can you give me one of the pro tips from that?
Let me see if I can find one. One of the advantages that Power Worlds has over Worlds of Power is that I up the pro tip limit. These guys make them actually kind of rare. And this is actually, there might not be a pro tip because this is the youth series. The Mega Man 2 and the Bases Loaded one are part of the youth series.
As opposed to the others, which are complex and challenging.
Yeah, this is written in present tense too. It's weird. Yeah.
Present tense, second person. You look
Yeah.
at you look at the picture. You
You hear the crack of the bat.
Oh gosh. Let's see here. Zachary writes, hey Gary and Cole. Since you've got 7 new and exciting podcasts planned or started recently, I wanted to ask. Let's say you're in a fantasy scenario in which you have unlimited time and money to put toward creating your dream show. What would it be? You can answer separately or together. And to clarify, you have all the money / resources you need to put on the show, and any time spent on that show doesn't age you or take time away from your day. So there is literally no cost to this, except perhaps the hidden monkey paws cost of the mental toil creating art in a timeless vacuum would cause.
Oh yeah, I like the magic parts of this question.
So we go into a pocket dimension where we can do all the creative work that we want, but it has to be the thing we want to do.
Yeah, it'd be the thing that we want to do the most.
Yeah.
That's tricky because the unlimited resource thing lends itself towards like we go and interview, people who made games and stuff. But I get mildly uncomfortable during interviews, and
Yeah.
like I don't find that process like fun. It's sometimes gratifying, but it's like it's nerve wracking and weird. It wouldn't be like something I would choose if I had a genie,
Yeah. I mean, like honestly, like the realistic answer that I would give would be, to really knuckle down and do hex crank. Like as I like it, the fact that this is a podcast is is a little bit changed, but like to go into that and figure out a way to make that work in an audio format as opposed to video, which is what I've been working on for so long, is that would be a good one. Like aspirationally, like something I've been thinking of is like, man, it'd be awesome if I had the time and kind of like the capability or the resources or connections to do like a fiction podcast, like like an ongoing serialized kind of story,
Mhm.
Something like that.
Yeah, and that's just time.
Yep.
Like that's not even, you wouldn't even need money or anything. It'd be cool if the time stuff. I would like to be able to finish all the projects that we have going on now, like I said, without it impacting time. So I would like to do my blog, and I would like to be able to do all the stuff we have on the Patreon and the like. I think it would be very fun to have the time and energy to do a really, really produced actual play podcast of like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign or a Call of Cthulhu campaign, like where like you edit out like get it setting up and everything. Like it just becomes very much like a story, like that, like similar to that kind of thing, but just through that. I think that would be really fun. But that still doesn't feel like sky high in sky in the pie enough, pie in the high enough, high in the high in the
sky,
pie in the sky enough.
high in the sky, apple pie hopes. Yeah.
I also think that like being able to produce like a series of bonfireside chat-esque like examinations of different game series would be really cool.
Yeah, like WoW Chronicles, like we've talked
like
about.
yeah of like lots of different series, because like even something like Zelda, like that kind of like cron gaming within a specific series is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like the bonfireside chat approach to something like the Zelda series would be very fun, because I really like the way that you can look at how a series, like the understanding that I have of how Dark Souls evolved from like doing this examination of it, is something I would like to see applied to other series, even series like Zelda, where I'm kind of like lukewarm on them.
Yeah.
I would love to articulate how I'm lukewarm on them, that in a way that only that unlimited amount of time could do. But if if I only have a small amount of time, I'm not going to choose like, all right, like it's time for I'm not going to choose all the Metroid games. I know I don't enjoy 2/3 of them, but I would in this time with unlimited time. So
this question made me sad.
oh yeah, I mean, usually you have to choose. There's opportunity. Everybody has to choose.
Yep.
No.
Jala asks, "What's the longest you've ever let your beard grow?" Gary, I think this is more for you.
There's in the Patreon video. That's my longest beard, just about like give or take an inch or whatever, but like old and scraggly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My beard doesn't get long; it grows out.
Mm.
It's incredibly bushy, but if I take a single strand and pull it out, then usually like I let it get about 3 inches before I have to go in and
Yeah.
get it back under control.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I had mega beard, that was definitely like an existential crisis kind of thing. That had to do with my job, which I hated. And I was just like, fuck it. Like I don't care. I'm gonna look like I'm gonna look like the IT guy, even though I'm not. Yeah. So yeah.
Just start carrying around like a multi-tool.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, all right. I'll fix your spreadsheet. And the issue, it's not once mine gets out, it's not thick at all, and that was the problem with it. It like hangs and stuff, but it's just not like gets kind of strandy,
Yeah.
And that I didn't care for. Looked like a Metal Gear 4 beard or Metal Gear 5 beard. Oh.
Whoa. Yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah.
had a my plugin went away, so
Oh.
I dipped out during that. You say last thing you said you got kind of strandy.
Oh yeah. It looked like a Metal Gear 5 beard or like a PS4 beard. Like you know how up here, like if you compared beard generations on video games, you have your Dark Souls 3 Metal Gear 5 beard where everyone just has like scuzz strands,
Mm-hmm.
like nothing is full. Like the
Yeah.
beards in Metal Gear 5 are among the worst beards I've seen in video games. And then you compare that with the gigantic lumberjack beard that you get in Alpha Protocol, which is awesome.
Well,
I wanted,
that's just
yeah,
like a solid piece of geometry. It's not like
yeah,
actually modeling.
yeah. That's what I want. I want. I don't want individual hairs modeled because beards don't look like individual hairs from like a distance. Like it looks like a solid piece.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Except for mine, well, you deal with a red beard that, like, in certain lights, just kind of looks like it's a flesh-colored beard.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you have tiny little cilia coming out of you.
Oh yeah, like that. A lot of my mustache is blonde.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just have a mustache in certain lights, it just looks like weird lip. And I don't like it. Yeah, it's gross.
Please never say weird lip.
Yeah, boy lip, weird.
Oh gosh. Fletcher asks, which Devil's Deal seems more palatable to you? Duckfeed is bought out for an obscene sum, and the only caveat is that one of your shows, chosen by the new boss, is taken over by a committee-chosen set of hosts. Or your personal brand rights are bought out, and a Gary/Brayton sitcom debuts this fall on CBS with guest stars playing the other network hosts.
The second one sounds awesome. Like, I 100% want that. That'd be so weird. That'd be very funny for like me and Brayton. Like, and then just like, oh geez, the guy they got to play Will. Like it would just be weird.
Just call it Houseboys. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that doesn't sound like a devil deal at all. That sounds awesome to me.
I'd watch that, even though it is CBS, so you got a lot of network overhead. You think the bigwigs here are bad?
Yeah. Yeah. The first one would be the part of it that makes it sound like a fun devil deal is that we don't know which show it is that we get replaced on. You know,
it's like abject suffering, and they bring in Chris Hardwick and Joe Rogan.
I was gonna say Chris Hardwick too. Yeah, just like Chris Hardwick and Jesse Thorne on abject suffering. It's the pleasant hour with the bland boys. Like,
yeah, no, but just like if it's a committee picking it, like, oh, we're just gonna like juice it for maximum appeal, and yeah, of course it'd be abject suffering because that's the one we like the most.
Yeah, to hurt us.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be the one with the most appeal. It would probably be Bonfireside Chat, and they would replace us with like some G4 TV like lady, like like the video game TV when they have the ladies, who are just kind of meant to they're probably great and smart, but I feel like they're being used, to be like, this hottest game, Call of Duty. I remember GameStop commercials.
Oh yeah,
you would get that, and then you would get like I don't know, like Mario Lopez. Like,
He doesn't say no to anything. It's like Nick Cage.
yeah, yeah. And then every episode would be like interviewing celebrities that like Dark Souls, and it would just be like the Peter Serafinowicz like season, and they would just talk about his latest movies.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, a real weird show.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would go for the second one.
Yeah,
Although
me too.
I just I don't know what that looks like with the other guests playing different being played by different kind of like character actors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The or if it was other ways, if it was like that your rights just got sold and it was like a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
It was just about like, you know, bird watching beer guy. Like,
Like a Truman Show kind of thing.
yeah.
They replace me obviously, but then they rig up this very same apartment with cameras.
Oh yeah.
Get the actor in, lock the door.
What would a sitcom, like an actual sitcom, look like if it was like one person and there weren't like a lot of guests? Like they the one person who works from home.
It'd be Moon.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even Moon has someone to talk to. Like it's not, that's two people by all intents and purposes, you know? I mean, I guess it would be like The Martian. Like you'd have to have like a diary or something. But if you just did it where it's just like the person going about their life, like I know where the jokes would come from, like them just making jokes to themselves. Like
Well,
they would just laugh every once in a while.
you I think that in that case you have to have like a most extreme elimination challenge, kind of like color commentary.
Mm,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, we just he's going with the AeroPress instead of the pour over today. It must
Yeah.
be kind of saucy.
Yeah. He's feeling, he's a bath time. He's taking a bath. Week, week. Yeah.
And then they load up the bath boy music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, network mandated bubble bath. We need you to use this to obscure your
Yeah.
horrifying
Bubble
downfall.
beards.
Oh man. David asks, what Souls game boss would you most like to play as against players? Would still be the same arena slash circumstances as their normal fights, just controlled by you. I have an answer.
What's your answer?
Burned Ivory King.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That'd be real
Especially if
fun.
I had like a like a squad command kind of thing, or
Mm-hmm.
if it was like a real time strategy, or something
Yeah,
like
that'd be
that,
awesome.
where it's like a shitload. It's me as like this really powerful guy leading this small army against another small army.
Yeah, which is a lot how the player
Mhm.
fight ends up going too, but it would still be super fun.
Yeah.
And you'd have additional strategic, like you'd be guarding those nodes that
Hmm.
get iced over rather than like icing them over.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Yeah, yeah, and like if you're playing as the actual person, like when I think about perspective change, because like you could do like it'd be fun to play as like Orange Sea and Snow because you'd have a buddy with you and you would be able to stomp a bunch of people and something like that. But it would almost be fun to play like something like in trying to find something that would be really different from the player experience. Like it's something like the Bed of Chaos, where
Hmm.
like you have this grand overview. You have this like little gnat like thing moving around, and you just have to like try to stop. It'd be like the end of Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah. I was thinking like with the floor dropping out, it'd be like Tecmo's Deception.
Yeah, yeah. Like yeah,
Yeah.
you have to kind of create traps or create situations in which the person falls to their death,
Yeah.
and a series of adventures comes to you.
Yeah.
Adventurers. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be boring. Like people in the chat are saying Artorias. I think that's good, but like that is so you're on such kind of even terms with that.
Yeah.
You're still just another sword dude that like there
You
would be
could
something else on top of it.
you can get a sword that gives you a lot of that move set. Like not all of it, but like you can kind of recreate that,
Yeah.
now. So I think it would definitely be something big and weird, but I like the idea of doing something stationary because then you're not. It's not like playing Gaping Dragon wouldn't be that fun because the arena's so big and you're so slow most of the time.
Mhm.
Like it would just be like that's a really easy boss and it wouldn't play that differently. It would play like a really slow duel, which is kind of what it is.
Weirdly enough, like so the EverQuest expansions like slowly got weirder and weirder.
Mhm.
And like later on they had like these challenge dungeons where you were controlling former raid bosses.
Oh, fun.
You would just like roll up and one person would be playing Lord Nagathon, the red dragon from the
Hmm.
original like vanilla version of the game. And yeah, it's like a little kind of similar to what we're talking about.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
It's almost a cool idea for a boss. in the game. Like if you went through the fog and your perspective changed to seeing yourself go through the fog, like some yellow monk shit, like
Mhm.
like your mind switch. I like in the chat, Royal Rat Vanguard is Pikmin. I like that a lot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wait, Vanguard, or is that wait?
Authority is evil Sith.
Okay.
Vanguard is the thousands of rats,
Yes,
and then
it's
the one
authority.
cool rat with the mohawk. Yeah.
Let's see here. Michael McCormick asks, "Who would play you in the Duckfeed movie?"
Well, I don't know.
Hmm. Kathy Bates.
I don't like where this movie's going. Um,
No,
yeah.
no. So you have to play like two. Like mannerism kind of counts, but you can change that physical appearance. When like if he was still alive, let's say Philip Seymour Hoffman. There we go, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That's
He
a,
was
that's a that's a good answer.
yeah.
It's hard to think of like I'll say John Gabris, who's a comedian and not so much an actor, but just trying to find actors of carriage that are yeah,
Yep.
who do, and he doesn't even look that much like me. I don't know what actors like look like. He's more like curly haired
Mhm.
than I am, but yeah.
Yeah. Or I get like Tilda Swinton in some baggy clothes.
Yeah, she can do anything.
Yeah, she can play a different race.
Yeah, it would be a CG, like Ultron. Would play me.
Oh, James Spader. Let's get James
Yeah,
Spader.
let's get the Spade Man and but as Ultron.
Yeah.
James Spader as Ultron as Barry Butterfield.
Yeah. He's already kind of got the beard thing going too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird metal. He's got the weird metal man lip. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see here. I wish I had somebody else so they could answer. I don't want to answer for anybody else. I couldn't even begin to.
Oh, like cast one of our friends, like other hosts. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Let's see here. Angus writes, all-time favorite Fashion Souls outfit for you to put. Sorry, all-time favorite Fashion Souls outfit that you put together. If you care for that sort of thing, which I do so hard. Also, am I the only? Well, so also, am I the only spending what likely amounts to hours of life in Firelink Shrine? Oh, the only one spending time in Firelink Shrine, close to the wall to zoom in on various pieces of armor to make sure the outfit is just so. Okay, there we go. Sorry, that got kind of a mess there. So he's using a wall in Firelink to examine part of
Oh,
this.
his outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah, pushing the camera closer to himself.
Hmm.
Um, I like the one. This is super simple, but when I did my PvP build for Dark Souls 1, when we did that episode,
Hmm.
The Firekeeper, not the Firekeeper, the Sister of Chaos set that is down, that's being guarded by Ceaseless Discharge.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
gold hand.
with Goldhem set with the Dark Wraith mask,
Mm.
and the Gravelord sword, and then just a bunch of toxic and poison pyromancy stuff, was a really nice look. Like you looked like a really scary skull wraith thing, with a cool bone sword. And whenever I did the PvP, I would emerge from a cloud. Like I would shoot a poison cloud around a
Like
corner
you
and
were
then come
Enter
out
the
of it.
Ring in the WWE.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that one guy from the GIF just was like, "Oh, fuck yeah." Um, I don't know that GIF. That GIF is still funny to me. That meme, because it is really like
Oh,
he's
wait,
just
Vince
really happy.
McMahon when he's
Uh, there's the one where it's like the wrestling guy and he sees the muscular guy come in, and it's just his reaction shots where he's just like, "Oh, whoa!" Like he's just doing that,
yeah.
and it's that for a lot of time, and people replace what he's reacting to with things.
Mm.
Uh,
I know of the famous Vince McMahon one where that ends with him falling backward in his chair. I
I
think
think maybe
because
that's it. I don't know.
it was like that was him hamming it up as a sexy lady was doing like, oh, you're Vince McMahon and I'm going to dance for you.
Oh, this was definitely a guy coming in. Unless that was been, we should have this. This calls for a para podcast that's like us explaining memes and having memes explained to us. 'Cause at first, I was like, "There's been a lot of meme chat on the network," and it was like, "We've been doing a lot of explaining memes, which is the height of comedy." And then I was thinking, like, actually, we don't know enough about this. Like, we just need to get in a third party expert.
Meme spurt.
Yeah, we need to get somebody in, like put the meme team on it and like have them teach us.
Down here on the meme streets.
Yeah, yeah. Gene Teen Meme Men.
So I think this is fun to do in Dark Souls 2. I think Dark Souls 2 kind of has the height of like ridiculous armor for you to wear. Um,
Mm.
like let's say the butterfly set. I don't really do this. Honestly, I just kind of roll whatever works best for my
Mm.
build. Yeah, not really that into fashion souls.
It's weird. Like I like how the armor looks. Like I look at it and stuff, but the accessorizing and mixing and matching, I don't do tons of.
Yeah.
Like I like whenever get a new piece of armor, I put it on to see if it looks cool. But I usually will just wear a set of armor that looks cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, it's fun to do it in Dark Souls 2 because they have that. I think they have the most intense like cloth like clothing.
Yeah, yeah. Everything has capes.
Yes.
In Dark Souls 2, so it looks real cool. And there's just a lot of weird things. So there's butterfly set. There's smelter demons helmet thing that like goes down to here, like his chest piece that leaves your gut uncovered. Like there's a lot of weird armor in that game.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to refresh the page to see if anybody else has put anything in. We have 2 questions left, and one of them is a doozy. I'm going to save the doozy for the last of the priority ones here.
Okay.
So Sam Bear writes, are there any weird non-standard character classes in an RPG, tabletop, video game, or otherwise, that you really love? My perennial favorite is the guy from Phantasy Star 2, who's a shitty mechanic that gets a bunch of techniques based around breaking robots.
I love that guy. I know exactly who you're talking about. Because they introduce him, it's so weird because they introduce him as like the machines take over, and the he's a wrecker is his class, and it's like, yeah, I build stuff, but I know how to take it apart, and he's not useful for like large swaths of the game, but they give him to you as like kind of like a band-aid for this part when you're going to start fighting a lot of robots. That guy's awesome. That is a good that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say this. In the Final Fantasy IV kind of like port that came out for Game Boy Advance, Edward can wreck shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like Edward / Gilbert. I love the idea of this kind of like wimpy guy who attacks with status effects harps. Who's just kind of like eventually like magic harping it all the way up. But even that idea of him, being this kind of like almost like enchanter kind of guy, like I don't even mind him in the actual game, similar thing with like other weirdo ones like Realm or Quina or anything like that. Like blue magic, I always have kind of like a soft spot in my heart for that.
Yeah. I have like a soft spot, and then I just don't want to go and do the grinding again to get all the stuff. Like I always want to use Strago, and then it's just like this is going to involve looking at a guide and then going to a bunch of different places around the world and trying to trick somebody into using an attack on me.
Like hoping that you that he fires this one boss that you only fight once fires his attack.
Yeah. I loved Setzer in 6, who's kind of a weird character. He's not super weird. In tabletop games, when I was in my first round of tabletop game, I played a lot of bards. I thought bards were pretty much the shit, just because of flavor stuff, I remember looking through like the complete Bard's Handbook for 2nd edition and encouraging you to like make up your own songs and how that'll be real popular, and like you'll go to the gaming table and everybody will love the songs that you make up.
Listen, to
yeah,
tale. A tavern did burn. A tavern did burn.
Yeah, right. 2nd edition Splat book. I don't know who you're thinking is going to be like, oh look, it's our friend Wyland, and his like, yeah.
Our friend Wyland.
He's made another song for our D&D group. Let's stop and listen before getting back to the game.
We're in the dogs. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you said Wyland intentionally.
No.
Okay.
I was just trying to come up with a dorky D&D 2nd edition name. But yeah.
Yep. Bards.
And Final Fantasy Tactics. I did this as a challenge thing. It's not like something I loved and went through the start, but like when you get guns, mediators are kind of fine in Final Fantasy Tactics. Like you can roll. Like I had a time where I had a party where I had 2 mediators. It's like, whoa, 2 mediators, but they just like stood back with elemental guns, and then anything got close to them, their like invite skill was high enough to make it reasonable.
Yep.
So I could just convert anyone who got close enough to them. It was kind of like this cool environmental hazard, like this charm turret in the side. It was super cool.
How to win friends and influence goblins.
Oh, and I love oracles in that game. Oracle Final Fantasy Tactics is a good one because there's lots of weird little classes.
Oh, yeah.
Oracles are really good. You get the sticks with the reach, and then they they're just really versatile.
Yeah.
Like buff and debuff classes.
I forgot about geomancers.
Yeah, geomancers are great.
Love those.
Yeah, geomancers are super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wish I had the patience to do like the mathematician or whatever, well, like the astronomer.
Well, the astronomer is a NPC class, my friend. You can never be the him, but you can be the calculator.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done a calculator build and got them fully up, and they just break the game. Like they're too good. But what it ends up being, if you don't want to do a bunch of like math on your own, is just you checking every permutation of these two different factors. Like they're really boring to play.
Yeah.
They're very powerful, but you're just like, okay, what if height is divided by 3? Okay, this hits 9 of the enemy, but 2 of my guys. Can I do better than that? And you just keep trying and trying and trying different formulations.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't have the patience for it, but I love the idea.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It is a super cool idea, but it's not that fun to play.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Let's see here. So this is the last of the priority questions that we have. And this might take a minute. George writes, as a guy turning 22 next month, what is the best life advice you can give? Anything is appreciated and helpful. Thanks.
Now, do you have something?
Yeah, I do. It's too.
Oh, you sound you're really that tone really primed me for this, Cole.
No, just like so first off, don't model your life after mine. That is bad. I feel.
Do you think that was a possibility? Do you think that was gonna happen?
Nope. No, but I mean, like, I feel like the wrong person to ask for advice. As like what I'm going to say is really generic. It's two things. First off, what was it that Conan said at that or Conan O'Brien said at that commencement speech? Like, hey, just work hard and be kind, kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I think is easy to forget. And also, you know what? Make sure you do stuff for other people. If you do stuff for other people, if you put other people kind of toward the center of your life, then you get practice helping lift their burden, and that makes you a little bit better at lifting your own. I say this as a weird loner, but that is something I wish I knew earlier.
Yeah.
But I didn't become such a weird loner.
Yeah. For people, real quick in the Slack before we answer this, we'll figure that out. No one's going to get jilted out of their priority question, so don't worry. We'll figure out what's going on with that.
Oh.
Yeah. Being nice to other people is good. Here's a piece of advice that hasn't bit me in the ass in my life. People aren't out to get you. You are not as important to other people as you're simultaneously more important and less important than you think to other people. You are more important to your friends than you think you are. Like the people who are around you, who love you and everything, really value you, and that's a thing that you can depend on and value and feel good about, and then also rely on if you need to. So don't feel bad about asking for help from people who love you. At the same time, strangers and people on the internet and randos and stuff value you less than you think they do. So if you are walking around and you have a piece of toilet paper in your shoe, metaphorically or literally, and you're like, God, I must look like such a fucking idiot. Or you go to like a party and you're kind of quiet, and then you go home and you're like, man, I feel like I was such a weirdo and everyone there thought I was a weirdo. Nope. Nobody, everybody there is just thinking about their own thing, and they all have their own lives. And they probably weren't thinking about you at all. So avoid that kind of center of the universeism to yourself as best you can, because when you think that when everyone thinks you're an idiot, what's much more likely is no one's thinking about you at all. So if it's something that is kind, if it's something that somebody likes you, it kind of I feel like it kind of leans more positive than people are likely to think. Like anytime you're like, man, I made a real fool out of myself, probably not. Like I almost guarantee you it was fine.
Yeah.
Like it is. So be a little bit kinder with yourself in respect to those kind of things.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind that like every single person you meet, this is a mind-blowing revelation that I have like once a week. Every single person you meet when you're walking around on the street has their own huge history and life and concerns, and are just trying to make it and be good and be happy. So if you keep that in mind, it is a good way to keep perspective. Like they're trying their best, If somebody is just like, oh man, look at this, like it's like the "this is water" speech thing.
Oh yeah.
Like you're behind somebody at the grocery store and they're being an asshole and making your day worse. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know that they didn't spend all night staying up with their partner who has bone cancer.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about them. They're just trying their best.
Yeah.
So try to keep that in the middle of your mind
Yeah.
at all times. Like whenever you interact with somebody, even people you don't like there are people who I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to think of it like, this is a simplified version of it, but I try to think of like everybody's kind of a victim of something a little bit. Like they don't have to have a victim mentality, but like if somebody is being shitty, it's probably because they were hurt and
Yeah.
they're being guarded.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are deserving of my empathy and sympathy too.
Yeah. Empathy is the key word for that, and that is what I try and keep, like the what I try to remind myself of when I'm feeling like there's like conflict welling, is like, oh, everybody has their reason.
Yeah, like there's something, and then this person, they're like this for a reason, and they are. It's very like unlikely they're trying to be evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's very few, like when I say like nobody's out to get you, like there are very few people who are like sociopaths who are like literally just trying to scam you. I think that does happen, but
Mm-hmm.
operating as if most people don't do that has served me really well. And it's really weird when I notice somebody who is like just so defensive that like, oh, everyone is out to fuck me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I get it. Again, those people have been hurt. Like I understand that, but it's just kind of sad because like not everybody's out to fuck you.
Yeah.
Most people probably wish you well or don't think about you at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So yeah, that's the inventory. Work hard, be kind. Not everybody's thinking about you. Empathy, 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 and everybody
yeah.
has their reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, and also be kind to yourself.
Yeah. And don't be so hard on yourself. There's no, when you walk off like you did a talk or you did a performance, like this happened a lot in my like band time, and I did this. It took me a long time to like realize that like I would miss one note in something and then obsess over it because
Mm-hmm.
of a band performance, and then realize like, oh, you know what? Like almost no one noticed that,
Mm-hmm.
and like
And the person who
I'm
did it makes a big deal out of it, probably
yeah,
not.
it is not the person who I need to really be that concerned with.
Yeah.
Like there's a weird, like that transitions real easily into something that sounds really negative, but I don't think of it as negative, is that like on the regular, I think like, oh, this doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I'm really comforted by. Like it all matters a lot. And then the other hand, though, it's like the concept, like what's the worst that could happen is always something that's going to just kind of blow over
Mm-hmm.
probably,
Yeah.
like not always. There are people who have real problems and have problems worse than me, but like a lot of times it's like, oh, this in the grand scheme of things, how I like if I recorded a podcast and was particularly mush mouthed or mispronounced something or got a fact wrong, like does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
Not really. Like I'm still the same person, and it's still, yeah.
Yeah. Just give yourself permission to feel okay. That's
Yeah.
just it. You don't have to feel good. Just feel okay. Don't that is something. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe it's just something that I have to deal with. But it's kind of like, I'm just not going to feel like a piece of shit today.
Yeah. And there's not like, I mean, it's all and how you feel. Don't beat yourself up for feeling bad either. Depression's a real thing, and chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you. I mean everybody, but like you also, like chemicals are a thing. It's complicated. Like mood disorder stuff is complicated, and just mood is really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But recognize when you are just literally just beating yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's just like, oh, I'm a piece of shit, like that's probably not true. I'm in a bad mood. How can I like distract myself for a while
Yeah.
from this,
Yeah.
Oh.
Like the way this relates to like somebody being young. I spent a lot of time when I was young, I still spend a lot of time today, just like not feeling as good as I, you know, could, like just like a day where I'm kind of at a C minus is, that's, you have to give yourself grace for that and kind of stuff. But it's like, a lot of this would probably, with a change in perspective or with a more mindful kind of approach to things, like I just kind of wish those bad days had been 10% better.
Yeah.
And like that 10% is, well within your control, a lot of the time.
You have you have a bit of swing.
Yeah.
Like you can't totally control it, but and don't undervalue distraction. Like distraction is so important. Like if I get to where I'm in a bad mood and it's just gonna happen, like there's nothing to be done about it. Like I can't think my way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a good time to like sit and watch like 3 episodes of The Simpsons, and then just like turn off my brain for a little bit because I don't, and then kind of move past it.
Yeah. I mean,
like
we are incredibly fixated on entertainment.
Yeah.
When I say we, I mean like you and I.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of ways, like this started, kind of talking of this, like the network, watch of fireballs, all that kind of started during a time when, at least when I was acknowledging, like, Breath of Fire is a lot of fun to play when you're depressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It just is. Yeah. You can't always fight that kind of stuff.
No.
But you can just kind of squeeze past it, I think. And then if it keeps happening, then there's somebody who was 22. This is I wish I had known. It took me a very long time before I went and got therapy, and then eventually got medicated for depression, which is no bad thing. Like that is great. I wish that like everyone had easy access to therapy, like easy and ready access to free. Like that would be great, because it was really helpful to me. And it's not the kind of thing, if you find this person who wrote in this question didn't say they're depressed or anything, we're projecting a lot of like Midwestern depressive on this guy. If you do start feeling that way though, it's not, doesn't have to be permanent. Like you're just like, oh, if I go into therapy, then it's going to be like a TV show where I see a shrink once a week and I'm always taking pills or something. Nope. You can be kind of like acutely depressed and just need to go talk to somebody 10 times, and then you eventually like feel better or develop ways to get through.
Yeah. Or like the situation that you're in passes.
Yeah.
Like things get better.
Yeah. For some reason, my prescription for the antidepressant I was on keeps getting filled, and it's covered by my insurance, so I keep taking it. Not taking it like for taking it into my body, but I keep taking bottles of it, because they bring it up at checkout, and I don't want to be like, oh no, I don't need that one, put that one back, because they've already made the label for it. So I just have like, I don't know, something like 8 months of like antidepressants just sitting around as like an emergency. I don't actually, this is super bad advice. This is not good advice for a 22-year-old. Don't leave around medications that you shouldn't take. But I just don't know what to do with them. And, part of me likes the idea of like, if I ever get really depressed and know that I need to start taking stuff again, I don't have to wait to get into a doctor and stuff. So I know how this affects me, and I could start taking it again if I needed to.
Yeah.
So,
and hey, if somebody's like breaking in, they're looking for, Vicodin, not,
No, like there's nothing you're not gonna get high off of like, I'm gonna take this entire bottle of Prozac. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Yep. Yeah. Asking for help is not a bad thing. I wish I knew that too. Yep. Let's see here. So to answer this, I answered it in the Slack, but anybody who's listening are like, wait a minute, I was a priority person. All of those went on to comment on the actual video itself, not on the Patreon thread. So comment on the Patreon posting, not this. I'll try and clarify that. Just it's one of those things you have to test and see. But don't worry, we'll get to them.
It's not a big deal.
Yep, it's not.
Like we're not beating you up. Somebody apologize. You don't need to apologize.
Oh yeah, don't apologize. Definitely not. Greg writes, I know you guys have said numerous times that you're not game developers or programmers. However, you've played a lot of games from a wide-ranging period of time, and have thought long and hard about what makes a game good versus bad and fun versus not fun. If a friend came to you and said you have the resources to create a AAA game, and that you could write the game specs for it, what kind of game would you most like to see based on your experiences created that that would be both fun to you and you believe would do very well in the marketplace? So think about this is kind of the converse of that other question. If you were able to make the dream podcast, if you had the means to make like the ideal video game, what would you do?
I would still, I don't know how well it'd do. I would still make the game. I keep talking about the idea of the like role playing, like kind of personal story role playing game that's about being in a band that gamifies composition and set list construction and things like that. Like a half simulator, half RPG thing that has, I think I would still, just because I would still want it to be good more than I'd want it to sell real well. And goodness comes from drilling down to something specific. And that's something specific.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would do something like PT, honestly.
Yeah.
Like PT was the glimpse of one of like kind of the platonic ideal of a game I wanted to play. And yeah, if I could capture some of that, go in and do just some real mind fuckery in a horror environment, then yeah, that's what I would like to do. Yeah. Let's see here. Adam writes, What are your guys' favorite board games?
Yeah. I like. We're getting near the end of Pandemic Legacy, which has been super fun. That's a recommended thing. If you have a game, if you have 4 people, you could, or 3 other people, you could play a game with once a week or once every 2 weeks. Buy it. You can only play it once. It's a season, but it's a tons of ups and downs, and it's really compelling and great.
Yeah.
That's really fun. I don't know if it's a favorite, but it's very good.
Yeah.
But like right now, my favorite probably is Code Names, which is a card game rather than a board game, but there's a board element to it. I really love that game. I'm pretty much always down for that game.
Nice. Yeah, I need to find a way to play that, or
Yeah.
like a venue in which I can play it.
You have a toy and game store not too far from your house. They might have it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A place, yeah.
They
You
do.
just
I've seen it there.
yeah, and you can play it 2 players. It becomes cooperative rather than competitive with 2 people.
I'm down
But
for
it's
that.
still you still get to explore the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's still really fun. So
yeah, yeah. I might go pick that up actually.
Mhm.
And just take it into work and see if anybody's down. Got a friend at work who's very into board game kind of stuff.
Mhm.
For me, I don't have as much experience with tabletop or board games as Gary does. But here about a year or so back, Ben from the level he came over and we played Twilight Struggle together,
Oh, sure.
and that was tremendous. So it's kind of a small pool. Like a small pool, like literally, it's just in there with like San Juan, that card game that's
Mhm.
kind of based on Puerto Rico, and the XCOM game. Like I respect the XCOM game because it's real neat. Like
Mhm.
the idea of just this app as a governor on to help increase the pressure for each turn. That's pretty cool. But like Twilight Struggle just did such a good job of simulating the Cold War in a fun way,
The
with
Cold
like
War.
this card drafting, the Cold War, yes.
Yeah.
That like I was like, whoa, this is a lot of fun. And I don't, Ben's a really good teacher. Like he's really good at like walking you through this stuff and making you understand, and and things like that. So that probably helped it, but it felt like incredibly like grokkable in a real
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't I've heard a lot about the XCOM game but haven't played it.
yeah,
It's a really similar to the video game, yeah.
yeah.
Like yeah, it's a which sounds really cool. When I've heard about it, it just sounds like it's really really hard in the same way the game is.
Yeah.
Like my understanding of that game is like you have to set out and be prepared to lose. Like it's okay to lose.
Yeah.
And that's still you still have to be able to have fun that way.
Yeah.
So which appeals to me, but I have not played it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I also like games where people take different roles, So
Mhm.
like
Oh yeah,
I played it over at Dennis's, and I was like I was the guy who was in charge of like the lab kind of stuff,
yeah,
researching new technologies and deploying stuff to help other people out. Like I love any time where you're in a group and you can be like, okay, I'm the support guy.
yeah. Like asymmetrical play. Yeah, the Will, my roommate, plays a lot more board games than I do, and he's been playing the Space Cadets game,
Hmm.
which is like a space. You pilot a ship, but there's a bunch of different roles you can take, and they all have these little mini games you engage in
Mhm.
that determine how successful and how many resources you get for that kind of
Oh
stuff.
wow.
I've not played it yet. I've watched him play it a couple times. It looks really cool. Uh,
What's that called again?
I think it's called Space Cadets.
Space Cadets.
Yeah, it looks really neat. So
Nice.
really unattractive art style to me. It's real goofy, like penny arcade looking character designs, but like
Donkey
the
thing.
mechanics are supposed to be good.
Yeah. I'm excited about the Dark Souls board game.
I'm real curious about it.
Yeah.
Part of me, because Dark Souls, I was talking with Levi Curran about that and the Bloodborne game and how like even we were talking about a tabletop adaptation of Dark Souls, and then we were talking about the board game and how like since it's so reflex based, right? Like
Mhm.
you get good at Dark Souls. That's a cliche, but like that's what happens is you
Mhm.
learn the muscles to play it. That's really hard to simulate with any element of chance.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. So it is yeah, I don't that stuff makes me skeptical.
I think
Like
the way that they're trying to get around that is to lean more into like the okay, you need to plan ahead kind of stuff. Like, and by which I mean like okay, have a plan of attack and kind of like know roughly the strategy for what you're going against,
mhm,
and being able to adapt based on that chance, getting
yeah,
around it.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Like I feel like any of those games there's going to be a point in which like something's going to happen that's out of my control. with things like that, and it's going to feel like it doesn't emulate the Souls games really well because it always feels like my fault, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Like I'm gonna play it a lot, but
yeah. Emily in the chat says the boss patterns are locked in after the first repetition, so you can remember the pattern and then adjust in advance.
Okay. I wonder if that first repetition, how likely it is to kill you. Which like happens in Souls, but I could see feeling like a weird tax in a board game form.
Yeah.
I haven't done tons of looking into it though. I'm not speaking from a point of experience. We're just kind of musing about how hard it would be to make. We're not saying they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So
they have a pretty good video that shows like the gameplay loop in it.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see here. If anybody has any other questions here, this might end up being a little bit of a shorter episode. Go ahead and use the Q&A widget on the video. We have one in there. We have one more on the comments. But Brett writes, do either of you have an embarrassing childhood memory that still makes you cringe and tense up? For instance, my brother recently reminded me of when I told all of the kids in the neighborhood that I played the guitar solo in Metallica's Fade to Black. Oh,
pretty cool. Hey kid, I like your style.
Yeah.
Why don't you swing by the studio?
An older kid went home to get his guitar and made me try to play it in front of everyone.
Oh, that's so good. That's a great story.
Good on that older kid.
Listen, we've been trying to get the song to come together. We just can't get the right sound. I think you got it, kid.
I need an 11-year-old kid.
I'm James Hetfield. Please buy my records.
I still get all tingly thinking about it. Like just that
great.
Sounds mortifying.
That's real good.
Yeah.
Was it on some kind of? I think I told the story on some kind of podcast, like when I was in school and pissed my pants. I think I told that. That was really embarrassing.
No, I'm sorry.
No, it was. I mean, it was really bad. Like I was. I mean, it's and now going back to that life advice thing, like I can look back. I'm not that embarrassed because one, nothing matters. Like it doesn't matter. I'm still, it doesn't change anything. But then two, with some kindness to myself, like I was not in like a super good place. Like I looked at some point and I'd like lived like 25 places in the first like 20 years of my life or something like that. Like I, moved around a lot as a kid. I did the math at some point. I can't remember, but we had moved around. We were moving around constantly. And we lived with my grandparents for a couple of months and I went to school out there. And it changed schools and it was very rural and people were very mean to me there. And at some point, I was just like cowed and embarrassed enough to not ask to use the bathroom and ended up pissing myself at the school. And I was like pretty young. I wasn't like, I was like 17, and
college.
Yeah, I wasn't like a sophomore. So I ended up peeing just in the chair. And then excused myself, went to the bathroom. I like tried to dump like water on my front, and then like people asked, and I said like, oh, I spilled water or something like that. Like I made up some lie, and then went during lunch, went back and changed my clothes and stuff. But you'll bet I'd never live that down. But that was pretty embarrassing. Like I tried to look, I was not in a good place. So like,
yeah,
this was a really, really nervous, unconfident person who this happened to. But yeah, that's probably the embarrassing like thing. The most embarrassing thing I did was just like urinate in the middle of class.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I
don't know if I have anything like that. I never did that. There was the time I was playing Little League.
Oh,
well, no, just like I'm trying.
Oh, somebody doesn't pee in class.
No, well, my initial thing is to say like, oh, I did. Just like don't feel bad about that because I did this. Same thing, but I never did that. I had had an experience when I was in first grade and had to go and use the restroom to poop because this has been a lifelong affliction. Needing to poop, like nervous stomach kind of stuff, and going in, and then a bunch of fourth graders came in and like started saying, "Ha ha, you're in there," and they started like throwing shit over the.
That's hard.
And then in order to try and to like, I thought I could trick them by standing up on the toilet seat. Like you see in movies, and like, hey, the feet are gone. Are you standing in the toilet, kid? Like that. It was a real shitty time. Probably why I can't really use public restrooms that easily.
Yeah. Why is isn't it weird how when you get older, bathroom time becomes this like holy like it's like consecrated. Like you don't desecrate bathroom time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're young, it's like if some kid's like taking a shit, you just don't think anything of like banging on the door or screaming at him or something.
Yeah.
And like you don't, to me, if I'm doing the screaming in that situation, I don't want that relationship with that person when wild poop is coming out of them. That
Right.
weirds me out. It has nothing to do with courtesy. It's just like me having that connection to them that feels weird.
Mm-hmm. Oh
You know?
no, like that happens with me at work a lot too. Is like, just kind of like, oh, we caught each other on the way to the bathroom. We're gonna talk, and then like, dear God, please don't speak to Yep. We're talking at the urinal. Fuck.
Oh yeah, I mean that's really bad urinal etiquette. That's you should quit because the you don't
For a lot
like
of
that.
reasons, but for that.
Yeah, that's bad. That's a bad coworker. Not like necessarily a bad person, but like that's bad coworking. You don't talk in urinals. Like it's secret. Like you just like while urine is coming out of somebody,
Hmm.
like that's between them and their urine. Like it's not. It's like you just went up and like tried to high five him during his wedding ceremony. Like his holy union. It's very personal.
Yeah. Well, then we did both go light the unity candle.
Yeah,
That's
there we
something
go.
weird we do. Yeah.
Between yeah, you guys are holding hands as you do. Uh,
Yep. Holding the inside hands are holding, the outside hands are holding our junk.
yeah,
Then we cross the streams and we've bonded for life.
yeah, you pee into each other's toilets, so to speak. Uh,
Oh, it's sword fighting.
yeah, crossfire. Uh,
I remember when I publicly quit Little League.
mm,
I was on the bench, and there was a pop foul ball that flew up. It hit a telephone pole and bounced down and hit me in the jaw.
mm,
And I was like, I don't think it didn't break anything, but it hurt real bad. I'm like, I'm done. And I
yeah,
got up in the middle of the game, walked to my parents. I'm like, take me home. I'm not doing this.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
was probably not the best way to handle that, but
yeah.
you know,
And there's tons of like just being an insufferable little shit. Like that's
well,
what you do as a kid. Like
yeah, I was like, me, there's like moments like, oh, I totally could have handled that better. Like just looking back and feeling mortified by it.
yeah, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Hmm. We've got one more question here in the Q&A.
Yeah.
So we might end up having to like end about 10 minutes early or so. But California Rhythm asks, what's your take on the popular opinion of Western developed video games not having boss fights designed as well as Eastern developed video games?
I haven't read about that.
No, neither have I.
Yeah,
There are all kinds of, I'm going to use this word, and I don't mean it in the negative way, like stereotypes about East versus West kind of stuff that I think, hold true in most situations, but like when held up to scrutiny, don't as much. Um, yeah, I've never heard this particular one. Like, and I'm immediately thinking of like compare, say, like Dark Souls to God of War.
yo, sure.
You know,
Yeah,
like that's like the closest point of comparison. But like, I don't know. Like I think they just do something different. Compare like a JRPG, like big flashy boss to, like Fallout or Alpha Protocol or something where
yeah.
you have like that different stuff. Though like those are no less boss fights. I think I prefer the Alpha Protocol version of that, but like, it's just a different ethic.
Because for some reason, whenever you compare Eastern versus Western games, my mind goes to RPG.
Yep.
Because it just like those are the two that are actually separate, distinct genres.
Yep.
More than anything, it feels like. There was we got into a big conversation in Slack about this because Kat Bailey's RPG podcast on US Gamer did a greatest RPG bosses of all time kind of thing, and it was like entirely JRPGs because like that. As much as I love that website and I love those guys, like they have a really crazy Japanese and console bias. There's like very, very little. It's because of how old they are, right? Like they were alive during the time where Super Nintendo dominated, and the best Super Nintendo games were Japanese. The and then so they have this weird bias, and they were talking about the best boss battles, and it was kind of blowing my mind because what they ended up going with was Luca Blight from Suikoden 2, which is like a great fight, right? Like that's a great fight, but as far as RPGs go, I don't buy this better thing because at the same time I like watched some video or something and it reminded me of the Master in Fallout 1, which is like it is really hard for me to top the Master. Like that is like so impressive and has to do with me. Like it's not a story of like here's my little Japanese role-playing game guy and this little friend he doesn't like, and they're fighting like action figures banging against each other. Like the Master fight is my guy And the way that fight articulates depends on how much I personally like explored that world, what my values were leading up to that point, things like that, where it rewards you if you are curious, if you will go through the world and you're like, hey, I actually want to solve this problem and have this kind of interest. You learn about these super mutants. It's really hard. Like, you have to poke into a lot of different areas, but if you have this knowledge, you can win an ideological victory against them. And that's so much cooler and better and more impressive to me than any fight, and as far as like what I did and the way I interact with this world directly resulted in my victory of this. And it's a moral victory, and that's awesome. Like, so I don't know if that stands true in action games. Like, maybe like you compare Souls to like God of War, like no contest, right? But in RPG terms, Western RPGs have way better bosses. Like, they don't turn into one winged angel god things, and the music's not as good, but the bosses oftentimes relate to the theming of the game in a way that's really strong and actually involves the player. Like, the way you play interacts how the boss fight can articulate in stronger ways. I think.
I think that in terms of like really good boss fights, like Japanese action games have like a stronger like studio voice for them as well, because like, I don't know, like Platinum does amazing bosses. And I can't think of like Western action games that kind of become so militarized that like like it's really hard to have an impressive like gameplay scenario around shooting something
like a third person cover shooter, or like a Gears of War, or like an Ubisoft sandbox nightmare is not going to have a really strong boss fight. Because within that mechanic set, there's not really room for it.
Right.
So strictly from a mechanical sense, like, I don't think that's ever going to be particularly good. For a
But
second, I had this thought that maybe they were inverse, because like Western role-playing games tend to have these like kind of downbeat bosses as far as presentation goes, and Japanese RPG bosses tend to turn into gigantic super gods with organ swells under them. And then Western, so if you look at the God of War Dark Souls comparison, like a lot of your bosses in Dark Souls are this kind of downbeat, just a person. The fight's really interesting, but all the God of War bosses are huge particle effect nightmares. So there's almost this inversion there, but not quite, because when you start looking at, other like other than those two examples, they don't quite invert as well.
Yeah. I know. This just makes me want to play like more Platinum games, honestly.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Like, that's really fun. I still haven't. That's why I need to start, because I think I have Metal Gear Rising and I still haven't played it, and I know I will love it. It's just like a future like joy bomb that's like I threw a grenade into the future of like, whenever I feel like playing this, like I'm gonna really love it. And then Bayonetta 2, which I played a little bit of, but have never like need to stick with. Because I like it. I like those games a lot.
Good stuff.
I
don't know if we came down to like an actual answer for that, but
I think it is not true in the world of RPGs.
Right.
Is my answer. It may be true in the world of in action games. I feel like it is categorically not true in RPGs.
And there is one more question that got stuck in the box here. Sorry, Emily, I just kind of like skipped over this question for no real reason. But she says, I'm picking up Fallout New Vegas to play along with Watch Out for Fireballs, since I've never played any of the DLC. Do you have any favorite mods? Or if you don't use mods, which DLC is your favorite?
Mod wise, I haven't not playing mods this first time through. Do a mod that increases the radio station. I think that's that's harmless and you'll like it. There's like 9 songs on the radio in New Vegas. It's like one of the biggest things in that game. It's just the songs are really great too. There's just not enough of them. So if you like listening to the radio in those games, which I do, there are tons of mods that put in like appropriate cool cowboy music. Do that. Graphical mods are like safe bets generally. Content wise, the one that I think is the least intrusive and you're not relying on the writing skills of like a community member, which I'm not always super into. There's one that's like New Vegas Interiors or something like that. And what it does is all of the buildings that are just boarded up that you can't go into, it opens those up. You go into them, the bigger ones just kind of end up being kind of dungeony. Like, you go in, You fight some stuff, and at the end, there's usually a giant version of something that's out in the wasteland that's named and has a named piece of equipment behind it. So like you go into, there's a cigarette factory between you and Prim. If you go into it, at the end of it, there's a giant mantis. You fight this cool kind of giant mantis fight, and then you get like a unique pistol. And it just kind of adds a little bit of that reward structure from 3 into New Vegas.
Yeah. Almost makes it sound like Oblivion.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It's like here's a, except replace like Necromancer dungeons with mutants.
Yeah. Which is, I would rather have that than nothing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that New Vegas does what it does instead, but like get you a man who can do both,
Yeah.
And then my favorite mod or my favorite DLC is Old World Blues, which I think is the funniest and also it's super creative. Like there's just tons of weird, cool, creative shit in it. Tons of great personalities.
Tons of awesome ideas. I think that Dead Money edges that out for play for me. Like I think
Dead Money's awesome. Like play wise,
Dead Money changes so much of the play, like in a really cool, methodical, and kind of like tense and scary way. That like, I'm 100% down for.
I love Dead Money too. Like those are my 2 favorites, like for sure. I did I'm playing on super hard because these games are really easy for me. Like not right. There's a game that people do challenge runs in. So I'm playing on very hard, and I'm very high level going into Dead Money. Mm-hmm. And you go into Dead Money, they take away all your stuff. The very first enemy you run into was like a mini boss. Like I died on him a couple times before I got a gun.
Yeah.
Because I'm not spec'd for melee, and this guy chunks me, and I have no healing items.
Yep.
It was really intense and awesome. It was like fighting Nemesis when you're not supposed to fight him the first time.
And I love how gradually those guys stop being like a real threat.
Yeah.
Like the village dwellers, right? Like like those people. It has a really satisfying curve to where you're able to deal with them better as you round stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that like, do you have any thoughts on like the order to play them in? Because like I just did them in release order this time, and that has treated me pretty well. Like they all tell like each of them has small parts of a cohesive story that pays off in Lonesome Road. I haven't beat Lonesome Road yet, but like, do you think there's like an optimal way to do it?
Release order is fine. I think that you actually are okay if you're sick of New Vegas skipping Honest Hearts. It has the least to do with the final thing. It's referenced, but it's not. It's like the cool, like the DLCs in New Vegas, like we're really blessed with those, right? Because each of them answer an actual cool kind of story about the main thing, and they're all based around these characters or locations that get kind of mythologized. And for the most part, it's kind of amazing because they pay off.
Yeah.
Like when you meet Father Elijah in Dead Money, he makes total sense. Like it's like this is the character. I feel like Honest Hearts doesn't quite do that. Like the character you meet, like when you meet the burned man, I find him pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the worst execution, and it doesn't add too much to the actual mythos.
Yeah. The only thing I really came away from Honest Hearts with is the Birdman's gun, which is amazing.
Yeah, you can get good gear from it.
Yeah.
But man, just like contrasting that with like Operation Anchorage and Mothership Zeta and stuff like that just have nothing to do with the actual world and nothing to do with anything. Yeah, I think you can skip that one, but doing like Dead Money, Old World Blues, and Lonesome Road probably makes the most sense.
Yeah. And like both Dead Money and Old World Blues, they're not as high a level, but like you need to be like 15 to 20 to really hit those. Like they're really kind about before you go into those different areas. Like they will flash up and say like, "Hey, you're about to do this." It will tell you if you can or cannot come back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's doable at a lower level. Like when I did them last summer, I went and did them right out of New Good Springs, just to see like if you can. I wasn't playing on super hard, but I was just like playing it on regular, and you can do it if you want a different experience. But that's like if you know the 3D Fallout like kind of mechanisms really well.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And we have a final one here. We managed to go up the time. This is King Minos. This is King Minos who says, "What did you guys think of Far Harbor on Fallout 4?"
I haven't played it yet. Yeah, I want to. It's $25, which I think is a little expensive. And I want to go back to Fallout 4, but having played Fallout 4, Fallout 3, and then New Vegas, like its entirety within the span of like 6 months, I'm gonna go to Far Harbor. Like I'm gonna play that like next winter or something like that. I'm gonna wait for a while.
Yeah,
the trailer looks good.
Just getting good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
For what that's worth. Like, yeah, I'm kind of excited. Like, it was an accident. Just that I ended up playing Fallout 4 so late. I'm probably gonna get to it sooner than you did, Gary, just because like I don't want this to like wither on the vine for me. Like, I want to get it while it's at least a little bit contemporary. But like now, like most, if not all, of the DLC is out, right?
Yeah, the I think this is the only content based one. The other one's like make a robot, and then the other one is make a settlement.
Okay.
Which are two like systems I didn't get engaged with that much. Like how much Fallout 4 did you play?
I got out of the like intro vault.
Okay. The city building stuff, like I know people who either went like really deep with it and really loved it, or people who didn't really engage with it that much at all.
Yeah.
So like
the city building and crafting stuff, I'm not gonna lie, like that's pretty appealing to me.
It's not bad. Like I did it up to a point. Like I made myself a cool house. Slack is saying there is one more mission DLC coming out. So that's cool. But I made myself a cool house, but I didn't feel like I needed like there's a little bit of like in the main game, there's a little bit of like Minecraft-esque like redstone kind of stuff going on. But with the expansion, they add even more of that stuff. Yeah. Like you set up trap rooms and everything, which is kind of cool, but there's nothing like other than just the joy of having a trap room. There's nothing that's going to happen. Like you're going to like people will raiders will come to your house, but a turret will do just as well as setting up this elaborate trap. So you just have to take the joy in doing it. There's no actual like mechanical benefit to doing it. So if that's fun to you, like which is a little bit appealing, but not super appealing.
Yeah, you said the word trap room, and I immediately just like shuddered. So just said like, yes, I want it so bad.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's everything.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Episode. Thank you. Yes, so much for asking these.
There we are. No, thanks everybody. This show is brought to you because of Patreon. So thanks everybody for being our patrons. If you are,
yeah. If you tuned in late and you want to hear the entire thing, this will go up on an audio form here in a couple days, and also it'll be archived on YouTube here as soon as it worms its way through the system. But yeah, we really appreciate it. Had a lot of thoughtful questions here this time.
Yeah, these are fun to do. Yeah, these are fun to do. So thank you guys for asking them.
Yeah.
All
right. Cool. Yeah. Well, everybody have a fantastic and safe weekend.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night.